Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am so excited for today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. Life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. Soren Kierkegaard. Our guest today is a friend of the Culture Matters podcast. If you haven't listened to episode 999, they've been on the show before, and I highly recommend a very different but valuable conversation. For more than 25 years, my friend Guillermo Salazar, founder of Exaudi, which means listen, Family Business Consulting, has been working with families across the world, Latin America, Europe, United States, and so on continuity, governance, professionalization, conflict resolution, the transmission of legacy. Genograms, we're going to talk about today as a method. Has authored multiple books, has a new book coming out we'll talk about, and has taught at MIT, Sloan Executive Management, Cambridge, and other amazing schools throughout the world. I have had the pleasure of meeting him in person and reading at least one of his books and learning from him. So please, if you're listening to this, uh, go check out episode 999. Guillermo, thanks for coming back on the Culture Matters podcast.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks again for the invitation. Glad to be here again.
The first thing that pops up is, has anything, if at all, changed or evolved since your last in your thinking, working with families, working with business, since the last time being on? And I know, although you've been doing this for decades now, the world is changing. So I'm curious if anything has changed or evolved in your thinking.
Yes, in fact, I think that things have been changing in from the inside. I would say I've been involved in a couple of projects that have helped me to rethink some um, of my previous concept of the relationship with the clients and with my colleagues. So yes, that's interesting that you asked that. The first project is the new edition of my preview release book, Genograms. That's a book that I originally released about 4 years ago in the Spanish version.
Hmm.
I write in Spanish and then I do the translation of all of my books. And when I decide to release the English version of this book, I found that more than I thought originally, my preconception of family in the cultural way that I see the concept of family from what Dennis Jaffe calls the honor culture was stronger than I thought. So my original book uh, that was in Spanish belongs to the honor culture type. And when I tried to release the English version, I found that most of my conceptions about what a family is are related with that frame of
Wow.
family that I've been living with. And when you translate that into another language, there's also a cultural translation that you have to have in mind in order for the reader to understand what you're trying to explain. So that was a discovery I made while I was doing the translation. Was not only changing the language, was changing the framework of what I was trying to explain. So
Wow.
the book is now the English version of the book. It's a global version. It's not a version for American readers. It's a version for um, all of the advisors that work around the world with families and business, having in mind that there is no only one cultural focus on proposing solutions. I have in mind all the other cultures, the individual culture, the collective culture, and the honor cultures. And that I would say that's one of the interesting things that happened this last year.
For those that are not familiar, how would you describe honor culture?
Honor culture is a culture that geographically is one of the largest one. It integrates areas very diverse and interesting as Russia, Africa,
Hmm.
um, Middle East, east of Europe, and Latin America. We will say it's the original culture. It's the ancient one. It's the one where you, as a family member, understand that it is more important for you the honor of the family than the honor of the individual. It is more important for you what the other says about you and your family than what you really think about you. That's the culture of the honor.
Mm.
I simplified it a
Yeah.
lot, but that's basically the way that um, you can understand that focus on the relationship of the self and the family in that context. The other one is the collective culture, which is basically Asia and India. It's more of the culture of there is no sense of the individual. There is the sense of we are one hive of persons. There is a group. There is a sense that whatever I do, it's just a part of something bigger, and that it's the way that I approach every issue. It's I will have always in mind that first come the family as the concept of the collectiveness, and then comes my interest. And the last one, which is the newest one, is the individual culture, which is more, you can find them more in the um, Western Europe, United Kingdom, North America, Canada, Australia. It's more focused on what it's better for the individual uh, in terms of decision making, relationships, uh, personal interests are always um, um, will be more important for the community, what the individual needs and wants than the collectiveness in terms of relationship. So those are the basic cultures that we usually face, especially working with family businesses, because most of our work that goes through different languages and nations and cultures are are easy to frame in those different concepts.
Where do you see the philosophy of and usage of genogram come into place in each of these global global segments? Is it a unifying principle,
The,
or is what's your
well,
thinking around this?
well, the thing is that the genogram is a tool, and the way that the genogram connects with everything that been explained before is that depending on who is using the tool, it will help you to reach one or other goal. So it is important that the person that uses the tool understand that the approach that in this case the advisor will have on um, understanding the way that the family is behaving in front of him or her will always depend on the context that you are working with this client of you. So you will have the tool, but you have yourself as another tool, and you have to understand that the context it's a condition that will help you to understand what you are dealing with. So that's where it disappeared. In my previous version of the book, there was no need to use the context as part of the formula because I was delivering the information to the same culture. They
Yeah.
came from this culture to the same culture. There was no necessity of explaining a lot of things. Here I have to do it. Here I have to explain, okay, in this culture happens this, in this other happens this, and then in this other happens this.
I want to make sure I'm following your thinking. So would it be, like if you have some rock marbles, like Leonardo da Vinci, the you're gonna chisel away
Mhm.
versus big hammer, boom, boom. Same
Yeah,
process, different context. Or
that could help you. There is a lot of things for working with families. Uh, it inevitably will lead you to thinking your family, and this lens that uh, preconceive what do you think on certain issues. For example, how does a family deals with illness? If one of the members is ill, what does the rest of the family does? In some cultures, the rest of the family they leave everything behind just to take care of the person. Other families just they send their best wishes and whatever
yeah.
you need to do, just do it by yourself. Others try to hide sometimes the illness. Um, it depends. Every culture have a different answer to the same situation. So as you come from a culture and you see the reaction of a client of you in certain circumstances, sometimes if you don't are not aware that you're dealing with a different culture, probably the solutions that you would like to propose are going to, you know, not work for at the least I can say, or sometimes it can be offensive for someone.
Wow.
How do you deal? How do you dare to suggest, like for example, that that the business is not for the family? How do you dare to say that the business comes first? Don't you understand that I made this business for my family? So how can you suggest that I have to fire my son? This is unacceptable in this culture. Things like that. So it's something that you have to have in mind always.
Where has where do you see it in Inaldi means listen? Where do you see the name of your company um, fitting in this puzzle?
Oh, everywhere. Fortunately, yeah, yeah. Listening is it's a guarantee that things can move forward. And yes, everything related with helping individuals to listen to each other in a collectiveness will help us to find a solution always. So yes, it's everywhere.
I want to ask, so no, someone that's never encountered a genogram, how is it fundamentally different than a family tree?
Well, they are different in a sense, mm, basically because uh, although both shows persons and relationship connections, I would say more than relationship. The genogram has uh, the advantage that you can describe the kind of relationship that you are trying to describe. It's not only how one individual connects with the other, it's what's happening in the relationship between them. Do they fight? Do they love? Do they
Mm.
enmesh? Do they ignore one each other? What's the kind of relationship that we have? Do we have uh, are we reflecting here, I don't know, loneliness? Are we reflecting um, uh, someone it's abandoned you? Uh, to you, do you see that someone is really close and related to you more than you think? That kind of situation that you can depict from understanding the way the genogram describes in front of you. That's a huge difference.
When do you see the picture begin telling you something Yeah. When do you see that the picture of gathering all that information starts to tell you more than just an interview with a family member would?
Well, the more information you have, the more clear will be the picture of the genogram wants to tell you. Most of the information that travels from generation to generation can be found in patterns that repeat on how do we see the structure of the genograms that can be repeated the same generation. For example, we can see that some families come from a group of family of or generations where you have always uh, two elder brothers and two sisters, and it repeats in every generation the same amount and the same sex of the children. Or you can see that, for example, in every generation, the parents has a loss in in the, for example, they lose the first baby and then the others start to come. Or you can see that in every generation you only have females as the next generation. Things like that, that structurally you can see what's going on. But sometimes if you start doing the questions that explain how these relationships behave, you will find that there are patterns on the way that people behave, or the way that people relate with each other, or how the family creates wealth, or how the family destroy wealth.
Hmm.
Those are patterns that you can start to understand once you have all the information of the genogram.
Do you have like an example? I mean, without going, like an example of like where there a family system, a family, there was the thinking was here, but underneath it all, the genogram revealed it's actually this. That
Yeah,
means this
well,
over here.
you can see one example can be when you have family secrets, for example. Sometimes the family behaves in a way that they have built a business which is always laying on the leadership of someone from the family. But the secret is that this person really feels that uh, is not the real one that should be leading the family. And the genogram shows you that this person is someone that it's very related with the stress lines, or is someone that doesn't have a stable relationship with a partner, or it's someone that it's been very distant from their own children. So you see that this leader that should be, the ideal person to have in your house is someone that is really suffering in order to keep the role that he or she is supposed to play. So that information you can see graphically
Wow.
in the genogram.
What are some things that could be done with that information that makes it so valuable to go through that process for anyone that's listening?
Well, if you understand how to use the genogram as the map to depict the relationships, try to focus on how is the dynamic of the way that they used to solve the same problem that they face in every generation. If you can depict the patterns, you will help them to see that probably there are patterns that are not healthy, that they can decide that this pattern should stop, and you can empower the family or help the family to empower themselves to make decisions that they are not being conscious until that moment. That's a way to work with the family and with the genogram.
Wow. What is, yeah, that actually leads into what I wanted to ask. How much what degree of opportunity, like is it destiny? Is a genogram destiny? If well, or for example, I've been reading a lot of Alexander the Great for and he it seems as though he really believed that on his mother's side was Achilles and his father's was Hercules.
Yes.
So um let's say someone listening to this looks back far enough and maybe sees something more bleak.
Mm.
What what does that mean of their fate? What's your take from experience or philosophically the literature on what can people change the cycle or break I guess change their future, their fate?
Mhm.
Is it fate?
Well, that's a good question because most of the ideas that are behind working with a tool like a genogram, as I said before, it's something that you can use to find what patterns are not working for a family right now. I mean, every family has patterns of behavior. Uh, every
Like if I'm overweight, we could look at my daily rituals and see that I should maybe eat
yes,
less, go to the gym.
exactly. I mean, every
Very
conduct,
okay.
yeah, every answer of every conductal answer for every situation is something that we have learned. And most of them we have learned in our own family. How we respond to the money, how we respond to the work for uh, what the discipline we want to work with, or what we want to study, or what do we think about relationships, or what do we think about um, freedom. A lot of concepts that they all come from the education that we have received in our family. But most of these concepts, they are not explicit explained to us. They go through the invisible lines that our communication starts to absorb since we are born. There is a part of our education that comes in all of the messages in that our parents teach us. And most of these messages are not absolutely clear. Most of them are notes and or be careful with that, or you know, a lot of information that you start to perceive that what is good or what is not good for you. And that is the way that family communicates from generation to generation. And in some cases, these preconcepts that our family installed in our brains uh, are not suitable for the reality that we are living. Probably you can justify that situation that create that kind of answer in their moment. But right now, today, probably this is not valid anymore. So once you make conscious what is unconscious, you stop calling it destiny
Hmm.
and you can see, okay, this is not my destiny. This is my own decision. And this is a very Jungian concept. That phrase is from Carl Jung. He was the one who told us there is a lot of things that goes in our behavior that is unconscious. Once you make it conscious, everything will start to make sense to you. And the genograms is the perfect tool for a family to discover that.
When it comes to the process of endeavoring through the genogram, you know, families are listening to this show. Where does that start? How much time, thoughtfulness? So I'm thinking someone has to gather all of that information in conversation and drawing and seems like a big undertaking that I'll go to the gym next week or I'll meet with a financial advisor next year. We could put off a lot of things.
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Again, it's a tool. It's a tool for discovering a lot of things, or you can use this tool uh, for entertainment. I mean, I just want to use it to see what's going on here, what happens with my family, or do we want to use this tool to make decisions? It will depend on what you want to do. So basically, my point is this is something that should be addressed by a professional that understand what to do with the information that will be raised in this exploration. So if someone wants to work with their own family, the best thing to do is ask a external professional to your family to help you go through the process of diagnose the dynamic of the family and help the family to understand what can be improved in what they discover. But working on yourself, it's something that is kind of complicated, being part of the same system that is trying to find a solution.
Yeah, yeah.
With the guidance, that will have a better outcome, uh, if that makes sense on
So
what I'm saying.
on the advisor standpoint, um, you were explaining earlier to take into consideration one's own history,
Hmm.
one's own culture, correct?
Yes, as an advisor, the first thing you have to do is having your problem solved with the family issues that probably you will face in working with your clients. That means try to eliminate any bias related with the culture, try to solve any trauma that you are dealing with your parents or with your partner or with your children. Um, Try to solve everything because there will be something that you will have to face, which is the transfer of the feeling. Whenever you work with a client that is experimenting the same situation that you have not solved, you will transfer your feelings to that client, and that client will make a contra transfer of that feeling and will give you back their reaction, and you will react to that, and probably you will be in problem, in a huge problem, if you are not able to solve that feeling that is going to uh, throw back to you. So yes, you need to be prepared to work in this kind of with this kind of tools and energy that comes and goes with the client.
For our listeners, when you were sharing that the this is something they can explore on their own, however, it may be in their best interest to include a third party. And that's understandable. What are some, how would you advise our listeners to go about that process of selection, interview? What are they looking for?
Mhm. Yeah, that also can be used for that. Mhm.
Meaning like the family. What should they be looking for in
Mhm.
choosing an advisor? The
Okay,
reason I ask that is
yeah,
because I think it would be hard for the family to discern how much that advisor could transfer or not transfer or those types of things, you know?
yeah. Well, whatever I've been, I mean, everything I've been talking about is is a message for the advisor. The family should choose the right professional that will help them to address whatever they're looking for in relation, for example, with the business. So we need someone to help us to professionalize our management. We are the owners. We need a professional that help us. But this professional will have tools uh, to help the family to deal with the business issue. But this professional will also understand that the dynamics of the owners, they influence in the decision-making process of the business. So having that in mind, that the way that the family is behaving among them, it will affect the business. So the advisor can help the family to solve their relationship problems in order to reach the goals of the business. So that's why it's important to have an advisor that understands how the family behavior, how the family dynamics affect the business side of the equation.
Would you say, or is it ultimately in the best interest of the family?
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
how many, I think that's something to touch on, right? Are you familiar with the Peter Drucker quote, "The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer"? You ever heard that quote?
Yes. Yes.
So my question is like, what's that quote for family business world? The purpose of a family business, advisor is to serve and serve the family kind of thing. Like who are in the best interest of the families when there's a lot of different resources and professionals that families will need as they go one generation to the next.
Mhm.
And each of us have our own self-interest. So ultimately, who's there to protect the family?
That's a good question.
Is that the role of the advisor? I guess that's it's a more of a philosophical, open-ended, as a student of this culture myself, trying to learn and understand who is in the best interest of the family outside of just the family. Like you have the family doctor.
Yes. Something like that. Yeah. Well, it's not easy to answer that because it depends on a lot of elements to choose the kind of professional that the family needs. But sometimes it's something that happens naturally. Sometimes the family find in their ecosystem someone that can be uh, the trust advisor, and probably this person is not a professional advisor. Probably it's a rabbin, or he is the priest of the church. Probably is another member of the family, someone that really is the person that you can rely on 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 giving most of the trust that you need. Because by the end of the day, the way that the family can trust in someone is when there is enough connection with that person that you can
Mm.
rely on this person most of the decisions that they cannot do. So, and I'm not saying that this is a good practice if you cannot make a decision that someone else have to do it with you. But advising is, I can give you some answers to your questions, but I'm not going to decide for you. But I can show you things that maybe you are not thinking on. And because of my experience and because you trust me, I can tell you this or this or this way for you. So that's the kind of person I'm thinking of on or what a family should trust more.
When in terms of advisors, those aspiring to be family business advisors, what from judgment, experience, um, yeah, judgment, experience, knowledge base, would you say one is beginning to, uh, I guess, master some of the concepts and frameworks of you've been doing this for almost what, 20, over 25 years?
More than that.
Yes. So are you a master yet or
I don't know. So
that should be the first
there
question.
was a time when I found somewhere that You master something when you have more than 10,000 hours of practicing. In terms of that number, I will say yes. But in terms of what you have to learn, I will say I have a lot to learn yet. There is a huge world out there that I don't understand. And it's related with I want what with all these things I want to do. So
Wow.
it's a never-ending journey, you know. Mastering something is something I think that it never ends.
Hmm. What, um, how many, so when it comes back to the genogram,
Mhm.
I think we've covered why it exists and some of the what. Um, but I also would like to know about how far back, is it, I'm thinking time backwards and also content. There's like
Mhm.
current generations that are living and how
Mhm.
and how these relationships, you meant like context, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Context is how do the members relate to one another,
Yes.
listening and all the gathering the information without bias as much as possible, being
Mhm.
neutral.
Mhm.
And then also looking backward, how many generations back is it sufficient, or is that really a per opportunity? Because each family is different. The context of
Mhm.
what you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. Well, I have to start my answer with the word that I hate most, which is depends. It depends.
No,
Uh,
yeah, okay.
yeah, it depends because it depends on what do you want to do with the family? I mean, I'm from the point of view of the advisor, you have this tool, you have the genogram, and you have the rest of your tools. It's not the only tool that you need. Uh, and the kind of commitment that you are doing with your client, it's something that you have to define with the client. What's the contract that you have? Are you working as a family business advisor? Are you as a financial advisor? Are you the legal advisor? It depends on what you do with your client. So a genogram helps you to, for example, understand the dynamic of the family that is influencing the information that you need to work with to reach the goal of your contract with the client. That means if you are going to help them to, for example, solve conflicts, probably you
Mm,
will need information on how the family is been behaving from 2 or 3 generations before this to see what's the pattern that they have in that situation. Or if you are a financial advisor and you would like to understand how the family is dealing with wealth or how many generations have been creating or destroying wealth in every branch of the family. So it's a tool that could help you. Probably you will need to go 3, 4, 5 generations far. Where is the wealth coming from? Um, or probably you only need to understand a punctual and specific dynamic in 1 or 2 generations to see what are the kind of connections and behaviors. So it depends. It depends on that. You can use the genogram to recreate the story of the family, for example, and you can go so far as you want of the information you can have, and you can gather information from 5, 6 generations behind, and because the goal is to work with the story of the family, for example. If it will depend.
it's great. It's a great, inspiring answer. I um I should have wrote down my other. I had another question while you were saying that. I was getting excited. Oh, well, w- is there any work or any experience you have around the concept of heroes
Hmm.
within a family?
Yes, we talked about that in our last
Like less the
conversation.
hero's journey, more like
Yes,
hero. I recall the recognizing like generation one moving to generation two. It may be helpful to recognize what's done with a symbol to kind of have
yes,
that passing of the torch.
Yes, I remember talking about that. Yes.
Um, but also, but what about, for the younger generations coming up to aspire, to who they could become rather than it being like, oh, I'm overwhelmed by the responsibility, but it's more so, or I guess maybe or is that just part of that system? Because, okay, this is what I was going to ask earlier. Is much of the genogram trying to look at the whole system so that the advisor does not, best intentions or not, get pulled into the wake of personality. Family is personal. So personality, personal. People are going to have opinions about everyone, just sharing information. So you're spending the time to gather information to look at the whole system, to have the least personal lens, the least reactive lens in all the reactivity that's going on in this moment of transition. But I'm so is that part of the value of the process of the genogram and other tools that the advisor's bringing to a family culture?
Yes, yes, absolutely, yes. And the advantage of gathering information starts with trying to interview to every one of the members of the family, trying to understand their point of view of the same reality. And the tool for excellence here is the genogram, precisely because if you ask every member of the family to draw the genogram, you will have as many different versions of the same drawing as people you have, because everybody has a different concept of the same family. So when you use the genogram in an interview with an individual and you ask the person, okay, describe me your family with this
Ah,
drawing that you have done, you will find that the information that this person is sharing with you, it doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the information the other persons are sharing with you. Not from the structural or content part, is the way that the relations are described in the drawing.
so 10 different people have 10 different perspectives.
Yes, exactly. And all of them are valid. All of them are saying the truth. So what is your purpose as an advisor? You have to choose with what information are you going to work, but you will have the best of everyone telling you their version of the same situation. So your work is that kind of situations that you face is known as the Rushmore effect. It's the way that you can see the same situation from different points of view of people from the same system. So, as an advisor, you have to solve that puzzle because everybody is saying the truth, their truth. No one is lying to you. And with all of that information, you have to prepare a solution of the problem that they are presenting to you.
Hmm.
So the more information you have, the more probabilities of solving something in the benefit of the whole system you will have.
Why do you write this book now?
Phew, now I think that I have enough experience to explain things that I haven't found in another way than just working. I mean, it's been every time that you write a book, you have to do a lot of research. And it's been very hard for me to find someone explaining the same thing that I've been discovering or working with my clients. So the precedence of my work it's very I mean I've been trying to reach sources of information from different points, but there is no one talking about this right now. It's hard to find a, a professional that I can exchange information exactly on this point, unless you've been working on this too, because this other person will find that there is no literacy about this. So why now? Because I think that there is enough knowledge accumulated in my mind to talk about this.
What's your take, or do you have a take at all of Western values, or yeah, let's say individualistic culture seeping into, yeah, making its way into honor cultures as younger generations move back from Western educations and Eastern honor culture and harmony
The
cultures
Yes,
digesting, I'm sorry, Western cultures digesting harmony cultures
yes.
from the U.S. institutions. I think that's been going on for some time. So, what's your take on how that um, may or may not be affecting families? Like, for example, on the Africa call that Gene puts on, a lot of the topics are like in those countries that the younger generation are coming back from these with these educations that's seem to be individualistic and all that, and
Yes,
or
yes, and that's what Dennis Jeffy and Josh Groffman they call the fourth culture. When you mix cultures, what happens when you have a generation living in a different culture from the origin family? So what happens? Exactly what you have been describing. What happens with those children come back to home, and what's the clash of the cultures, and what do we have in exchange of that? That happens, and that's happening more and more and more. I don't know if by the end of this century we will have only one culture because everything is like meshing in only one. But that's the reality we're facing in our job as advisors, especially when you work in in different countries. You see that the mix of the cultures is derivating in a different way of understanding the same reality. So yes, that's definitely something that's happening.
how do you see the genogram process play a role, if at all, in communication, family communication? Does it play a role in
Well, I don't see it working for a family as a tool that the family uses by themselves. It,
more for
it's
the advisor?
Yeah, it's more for the advisor. The advisor can help to if you use the genogram as an advisor with the client and you do this interview process with everyone, you will find that the map that is showing you the relationship of the family will have gaps of communication, probably because there are lines that are not drawn or they should be there because there should be an open communication among the parents, for example, but there is no information related with that. And then you will find that those are the gaps of communication that you can start to design in your process as something that you should address in order to solve what they need to solve.
Yeah, amazing. If our listeners that are have not, well, so what's the book called and when can they get it?
Okay, it's coming next month in September. By the end of September, it will be available on Amazon. It's Genogram for Family Business by Guillermo Salazar. You will find there is no other Guillermo Salazar writing books right now in Amazon in English. So yes, you will find it there.
If you're listening to this episode, pick up the book and go listen to episode 999 on the Culture Matters podcast. Guillermo, thanks for coming back. I'm excited to read the new book.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jay, for the invitation again, and looking forward your comments on the book.
We will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.